Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Chunghwa Telecom conference call for the company's fourth quarter 2020 operating results. During the presentation, all lines will be on listen-only mode. When the briefing is finished, directions for submitting your questions will be given in the question-and-answer session. For information, this conference call is now being broadcasted live over the internet. Webcast replay will be available within an hour after the conference is finished. Please visit CHT IR website, www.cht.com.tw/IR under the IR calendar section. Now I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Angela Tsai, the Director of Investor Relations. Ms. Tsai, please go ahead.
Thank you. This is Angela Tsai, the Director of Investor Relations for Chunghwa Telecom. Welcome to our fourth quarter 2020 results conference call. Joining me on the call today are Harrison Kuo, our President, and Vincent Chen, our Chief Financial Officer. During today's call, management will begin by providing an overview of our business during the quarter, followed by a discussion of operational and financial highlights. And then we will move on to the Q&A session. On slide 2, please note our safe harbor statement. And now, I will turn the call over to President Kuo. President Kuo, please go ahead.
Thank you, Angela, and hello everyone. Welcome to our fourth quarter 2020 earnings call. Let's begin on slide 4. In the fourth quarter of 2020, mobile competition was relatively stable, and the operators were more focused on 5G migration. We are pleased that the number of 5G sign-ups exceeds our annual target more quickly than we had expected. And the iPhone 12 launch continued to push up the adoption of high-price 5G plans. We observed that 88% of iPhone 12 subscribers choose plans of $999 or above. In addition, construction of our 5G base station is ahead of schedule. By the end of 2020, we managed to establish over 4,500 base stations nationwide and expect to exceed 10,000 base stations by the end of 2021. In terms of 5G vertical application, we participated in the world's first 5G millimeter wave enterprise private network for semiconductor industry, which launched in Kaohsiung City during the first quarter, marking another milestone of our efforts to develop 5G smart manufacturing. We intended to leverage the government's 5G subsidies to substantially accelerate 5G network construction from 5 years to 3 years, which we will elaborate later on. Now I will provide key highlights from the fourth quarter of 2020. For our broadband business, we are pleased to see continued ARPU uplift as a result of ongoing increase in higher price plan adoption. Subscriber migration to our broadband of 300 megabits per second or higher continued to increase by approximately 69% year-over-year, contributing to year-over-year broadband revenue growth for the 11 months in a row. The number of home Wi-Fi devices also increased 373% year-over-year. Now, allow me to walk you through each of our business lines. Turning to slide 5, you can see an update of our mobile services business. In the first quarter of 2020, we continue to maintain our leading position in the mobile market as the subscriber market share excluding IoT SIMs reached to 36% and the revenue market share increased to 38.4%. We are pleased to see our post-paid mobile subscriber net adds maintained positive for 4 consecutive quarters, marking a whole year. attributable to effective 4G subscriber retention and 5G migration, which we believe will continue to shepherd our mobile business in a healthy trajectory. As we have seen upsell in 4G, our 5G continue to enhance the contribution of higher price plans, and we aim to accumulate 2 million 5G subscribers this year. We remain optimistic about our mobile performance and market development in 2021. Please turn to slide 6 for an update on our broadband business in the first quarter. During the quarter, our broadband ARPU increased by 3% year-over-year, which reflects our success in migrating subscribers to adopt higher speed services and other benefits from stay-at-home opportunities in the new normal. The number of subscribers that sign up for connection speeds of 300 megabits per second or higher increased by 69% year-over-year, while VPN circuit revenue contributions from enterprise customers grew as well. Thus, we are confident that we will maintain the overall upward trend in our broadband business, despite the ongoing decline in the number of low-speed subscribers quarter-over-quarter. Going forward, we will focus on developing data-driven subscription enhancement, home-centric applications, and higher speed migration to expand our household and market share. Slide 7 demonstrates our MOD business performance. In the first quarter of 2020, our MOD IPTV platform continued to be the largest media platform in Taiwan, and our business remained relatively resilient under the headwind of COVID-19 pandemic, which delayed major large sporting events and movie releases. Subscription momentum decelerated as a result. However, MOD ARPU slightly increased quarter-over-quarter as subscribers of OTT services, such as Netflix, continue to grow. In addition, we continue to see upsell in our tiered pricing channel packages and digital convergence packages. Going forward, we will continue to differentiate our products by enriching 4K content as well as AR and VR services. Along with the Tokyo Olympic Games, which had been delayed and is expected to take place in 2021. We also plan to enhance revenue by promoting cross-sales on the platform to further enhance ARPU. Please turn to slide 8 for an update on our ICT business. Overall, ICT project revenue increased by 49.9% year-over-year in the first quarter due to revenue recognition of large government ICT projects. Our emerging ICT service revenues increased year-over-year as well. ITC revenue increased by 75.6% year-over-year due to the completion of large projects. Cloud revenue increased 28.6% year-over-year as we see the revenue increase in both project and the international public cloud services. Cybersecurity revenue increased 23.8% year-over-year, with a significant contribution from financial-related projects. As ICT project revenue accounted for a greater portion of our total revenue year-over-year, we will continue to enhance ICT technologies and be more selective in selecting projects to further enhance project margin and profitability. At this time, I would like to turn the call over to Vincent, who will review our financial results.
Thank you, President Guo. Good afternoon, everyone. I will now discuss our fourth quarter financial results. Please turn to slide 10, which provides highlights from our income statement. For the fourth quarter of 2020, on a year-over-year basis, total revenues increased by 7.7%, and operating costs and expenses increased by 11.3%. Income from operations increased by 5.7%, and our net income increased by 5.8%. In addition, our EBITDA margin decreased to 33.44% in the fourth quarter from 33.94% in the prior year period. Please turn to slide 11 for a breakdown of revenue by business segment. In the fourth quarter of 2020, total revenue increased by 7.7% year-over-year, mainly due to the increase in ICT project revenue, internet-related revenue, and handset sales revenue, which offset the decrease in revenues from voice and mobile services as a result of market competition and voice IP substitution. Moving on to slide 12, our operating costs and expenses in the fourth quarter increased by 5.1 billion, or 11.3% year-over-year, mainly due to higher ICT project costs and cost of goods sold. Slide 13 shows that cash flows from operating activities for the fourth quarter of 2020 increased by 3.82 billion, or 16.2%, compared to the prior year period. This was mainly driven by an increase of accounts payable. As of December 31, 2020, the balance of cash and cash equivalents was 30.44 billion, a decrease of 3.61 billion, or 10.6% relative to 2019. The decline was primarily attributable to the concession fee payments from the 5G frequency spectrum auction. On page 14, you may find a table that compares our financial results with forecasts. As you can see, for Q4 2020, our performance measures including income from operations, net income, EPS, EBITDA, and EBITDA margin all exceeded our forecasts. Revenue met guidance attributed to higher handset sales and ICT project revenue. Moving on to slide 15, please see our consolidated guidance for 2021. Looking ahead, total revenue for 2021 is expected to increase by 0.8 to 1% compared to 2020. The increase in revenue is expected to be driven by increases in mobile communications revenue, internet revenue, and handset sales. Operating costs and expenses for 2021 are expected to increase by between 0.4 to 0.5% as a result of the increase in cost of goods sold and depreciation expense in 5G equipment and the amortization expense for 5G concession. Given these projections, we expect 2.5% year-over-year decrease to 2% year-over-year increase in EPS. Lastly, please turn to slide 16. Our Capex spending in 2020 was 23.3 billion, which was lower than the budgeted amount of 30.7 billion. In spite of the Capex increase of 5G network construction, the actual spending decreased owing to price negotiations with vendors during the procurement and internal optimization review process, as well as changes in projects, which includes some spending that defers to 2021. For 2021, we are budgeting 43.1 billion in Capex, including spending on business forecasts in 2021, such as accelerating the construction of 5G network, IDC, and submarine cable, as well as deferred items from 2020. Thank you for your time. Now, we would like to hand the call over to President Guo for highlights of our strategy in 2021. President Guo, please.
Please turn to slide 17. Now I would like to highlight some key items as part of our 2021 development strategy. As mentioned earlier, in 2021, we will accelerate 5G network development to ensure our network speed and quality remains ahead of our peers, thereby boosting our 5G subscriber base while increasing overall mobile service revenue. For fixed broadband business, we will continue our success in fixed broadband migration to enhance fixed broadband revenue in the always broadband connected environment. To grow overall ICT business, we will focus on 5G enterprise private network opportunities and strengthen our partnership to develop smart applications by leveraging government incentives used to encourage national forward-looking development. To expand new services and market share, we aim to grow ICT ecosystems by acquiring, building, or collaborating with industry partners, particularly in the realm of cybersecurity, IDC, cloud computing, and IoT applications. To capture business opportunities from overseas partners, we will continue to invest in submarine construction as we hope to build submarine cable double rings in the Asia-Pacific region and become the APAC region's submarine cable center. Finally, slide 18 illustrates our awards and recognitions from the fourth quarter, highlighting our distinction in brand value, corporate governance, and sustainability, as well as our strength in mobile, IDC, and cloud services. Also worth noting, Chunghwa was the first operator to receive validations of Asia Expert Managed Service Provider and AWS Managed Service Provider, further demonstrating our cloud service capabilities and the potential business opportunities. Thank you for your time. Now, we would like to open up the line for questions.
Thank you. We'll now begin our question and answer session. If you have a question for any of today's speakers, please press 01 on your telephone keypad, and you will enter a queue. After you are announced, please ask your question. When you are speaking, please be louder or closer to the microphone. If you find that your question has been answered before it is your turn to speak, please press 02 to cancel the question. Our first question is coming from Neil Anderson from HSBC. Go ahead, please.
Hi there, good afternoon. I have two questions, please. The first is on the ICT business, and I would like to ask when you can give details on the revenue contribution from ICT and the margin contribution. If that's not possible now, would it be possible to discuss the margin trends in this part of the business? The second question relates to the Capex, which is obviously quite high this year due to some rollover and 5G. Can you give us some indication of how much you expect that to come down again next year and how much is a sort of one-off? And related to that, how much you expect to spend on millimeter wave rollout, which has been slower in other countries due to the lack of millimeter wave ecosystem, handsets, etc. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your question. Our fourth quarter margin and the EBITDA margin was 19.89 billion NT dollars, an increase of around 6.1% from the same period last year, mainly due to the increase in income from operations and amortization costs. One of the reasons for the increase in income from operations is the increase in fixed broadband ARPU, which reflects our success in migrating subscribers to adopt higher speed service. Another reason is that more large ICT project was completed as compared to last year. Our large ICT project recognized in the fourth quarter last year, so the margin was a little bit higher than last year. And the second question is about the Capex. Okay.
If I may, let me add to the answer to the first question. So regarding the ICT margin, so the margin depends on the size of the ICT project. So on average, the margin is about 15% plus in 2020. But if for the flagship projects, the margin will be lower. And for the second question, which is respect to Capex, for our Capex, as you can see in 2021, right? Actually, the Capex is expected to be 43.1 billion. We believe the peak of our Capex will be the highest in 2021, and it will trend down in the following years. So I'm not sure I answered your question.
That's great. Thank you. Do you have any comments on the millimeter wave deployment, please?
Okay. Because we think 5G is a game changer for the industry, so actually we invest in quite a lot in the 5G base station. Also, we echo the government's policy to shorten our 5G base station construction from 5 years to 3 years. So we expect the Capex on mobile segment will continue for the next 2 or 3 years, and the amount will be quite steady. Yeah.
And the millimeter wave 5G stations will be deployed based on the private companies' needs. So we don't disclose this amount of the base station numbers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is coming from Benji from Bank of America. Go ahead, please.
Thank you for taking the call. Just 3 questions. First question, is it possible to share with us what is the total number of 5G subscribers that the company has as of the end of 2020? And just to confirm, in your presentation, you mentioned that Chunghwa intends to add another 2 million 5G customers for 2021. Is that correct? That's my first question. Second question is going back to the Capex budget. We noticed that there is a significant Capex savings in year 2020 because previously you had a budget of 30 billion. Now you only spend 23 billion in 2020. But at the same time, the Capex budget jumped significantly in 2021. Could you walk us through of that 43 billion? Capex budget for 2021. How much of that Capex budget actually is so-called being moved from 2020 to 2021, and how much is entirely so-called new projects that we have started? And also within that, the Capex budget for Internet jumped 6 times year on year. What are the specific projects that lead to such a big jump in terms of the Capex allocated for Internet business? That's the second question. And then last question is actually going back to the 5G businesses. Could you share with us if right now or confirm that for every one of Chunghwa's 5G customers, when they sign or when they switch from non-5G to 5G, Chunghwa is getting an output uplift from those customers? Thank you.
Okay. Our total number of 5G subscribers is far beyond our annual targets last year. And we anticipate we will accumulate over 2 million numbers of our customers at the end of this year.
So the 2 million is kind of like we expect we will have 2 million new customers this year, or we will have 2 million 5G customers by end of this year, if I may clarify. Thank you.
2 million is the total accumulated number. The total accumulated numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So for Capex question, so actually we did a very good job at bargaining the Capex, the equipment 5G base station. So basically, we save a lot of money. And for the amount of the deferred items, I would say the number is reasonable. Yeah, because we need to respond to the government's policy and the pandemic. So that's why some of the items are deferred to 2021. And for 2021, right? So for our mobile services, most of the Capex is on the 5G, and for the Internet business segment, the Capex is mainly for the IDC cloud services and the FTTX.
See, basically, when we're talking about, the Internet Capex, you mentioned about, are there any specific projects, responsible for this? Of course, we actually identify, some special project, but, sometimes, this is a non-disclosure kind of, we cannot really disclose, that the name, of the project, but we actually identified. So we think it's highly likely to happen. So that's why we included it in the budget. Okay, I think that's the reason. And this marine cable and internet data center, we see this kind of international kind of opportunity highly likely happen in this year. So that's why we budgeted a little bit more for this year. I think this explains the reason for that. Okay, for internet session.
And the output uplift.
Yeah, I think when you talked about your last question, when they switch from non-5G to 5G, of course, 90% of our customers, 5G customer, it's from 4G to 5G. Yeah, that's the situation. Because, we are the leading mobile operator in this market.
But for those customers, I guess my question is, when they switch from non-5G to 5G package, are we, the company, getting a higher so-called monthly phone bill from those customers when they upgrade them to 5G, or essentially they are paying us the same amount of money even after they switch to 5G?
You see, from our presentation, you must notice that, this year we actually, our postpaid customer actually received the uplift of the ARPU. I think that this is mainly from two sources, okay? First of all, it's the 4G. The second is the 5G. The 5G is because, we are managed to have, 5G, 4G migrate to 5G, have the uplift of the ARPU uplift. Okay, that's the one part. For 4G, we have a lot of people, a lot of customers, because 30 months ago we had this Mother's Day and the civil service, that kind of a package. We managed to have more than 90% of the customer migration. We have small ARPU uplift. I think that's the major reason for that. So that's why we have a pretty good, revenue uplift, ARPU uplift for postpaid customers this year. Last year, I should say that, for 2020.
If I may just ask a small follow-up question, is also in the presentation, the company mentioned that we have decided to squeeze our 5G rollout from 5 years to 3 years. Are there kind of any specific change in terms of the operating environment that we see out there, and that promise that, okay, we need to speed up our network rollout, instead of taking 5 years, we should just finish it within 3 years? Thank you.
Of course, to acquire, the government, the 5G subsidies, we need to accelerate, the network deployment for sure. Because, this is big money, and but this doesn't really change the whole situation, because we would like to be the leading mobile operator in Taiwan. I think this is all we maintain this kind of leading position for even in 5G era. So it doesn't change in terms of the operation kind of environment. So I think that I hope this answers your question.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is coming from Jack Shi, Sinopac Security. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, and thanks for giving me the chance to ask question. I have 3 questions. My question is about thanks for the company give us the guidance about the Capex. But I'm interested because in the 2020 our Capex achievement rate is maybe around 70 to 80%. So in the 2021, could we forecast the achievement rate will be almost the same with the 2020 or maybe higher? And this is my first question. So should I continue my question or just one question by one question?
Okay. Thanks, Jack, for your questions. So, although in 2020 the attribution rate is only between 70 and 80%, but actually we have done, every construction we are supposed to do. Okay, so basically the remaining portion is basically other than the deferred items. Actually, we can save Capex through the procurement and our bargaining ability. So that's why we keep the attribution rate at 70 to 80%. So in 2020, I think we will still, optimize our procurement and our review process. So I cannot say, whether attribution rate will be, at one number, this year or next year. Yeah, but we will do, whatever we are supposed to do to deploy our 5G construction and like the submarine cable. We will do whatever we are supposed to do. Yeah, thank you.
I add one point that because of some spending deferred from 2020 to 2021, exclude the deferred items, our total Capex spending were near to maybe 85 to 90% of our guidance. Thank you.
Let me add one thing, one thing worth noted that, our reporting actually is on cash basis, okay? It's not on accrued, the presentation. So probably it's a little bit different. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is about the 5G base station target, because we have just mentioned in the end of the 2021 and hope will almost 10,000 5G base stations around Taiwan, and but the NCC's target will need to be at 30,000, maybe almost 40,000 at the end of the 2024 or 2023. Yeah, but according our plan, and it seems we will ahead of the NCC's guidance. So could you give us some color about our strategy for our 5G base station, the deployment strategy? Thank you.
We will accelerate the base station construction period, and as I mentioned earlier, we will accelerate from 5 years to 3 years, and after that, we will construct over more than 10,000 base stations at the end of this year. And we do not disclose the total numbers of base stations beyond the end of this year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Because I got information from the news, and the news has quoted the company's guidance to maybe can until the 2023, maybe will cover almost 90% of Taiwan, and so according to the historical data, and it seems the Chunghwa has been built almost 30,000 base stations, 4G base stations around Taiwan. So could we forecast the company will have almost the same numbers 5G base station, maybe at the end of the 2023? Thank you.
Yeah. we anticipate that after the construction of over 18,000 5G base stations, it will achieve a population coverage rate of 90%. I'm not sure if I answer your question.
Okay, thank you, sir. And my third question is about I'm interested about our ARPU, about especially the mobile ARPU, because the mobile ARPU at the end of the last year, maybe just around $420, $20. But in comparison with our carrier plan on the web, and it seems only we have the 3AA. This tariff plan is below the $400. But I'm interested because it seems the majority of our tariff plan is about $499. And so right now we try to let our 4G customers transfer to 5G, and we have good data now. And but when we see the mobile ARPU, it seems we something interested, and we can not match our tariff plan and the 5G subscriber growth. So could you give us about some details about our mobile ARPU? Thank you.
I answer your question about the mobile ARPU. As our postpaid mobile subscribers net adds maintain positive for the whole year in the last year, and we see upsell among 4G users, while 5G continue to strengthen adoption of higher price plans, including iPhone users. We aim to strengthen our mobile service revenue, and originally expect it to be bottom up in 2021. Okay, it's the first. However, in 2020, our mobile service revenue decreased year over year, mainly due to the decrease of international roaming revenue resulting from COVID-19 impact starting from Q2 last year. So, factoring in all this, we do expect our mobile service revenue will increase year over year in Q2 this year, and the trend we expect will likely to continue. I add one point that the branded ARPU is lower because of it includes IoT numbers. Thank you.
Okay, just one follow-up question. And so, could you give us about some information about the percentage of the IoT part percentage in the mobile ARPU? Because this is our growing segment and the business, and it also has some future. So, could you give us about some detail about the percentage of the mobile ARPU? I mean the IoT ARPU. Thank you.
Basically, I think currently in the entire market, none of the operators disclose the IoT customer number. But I would say that, from our understanding, our IoT customer number already accounted for, currently like high single-digit percentage. So I think this kind of diluted our ARPU level.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. It's very helpful.
Thank you. The next question is coming from Amberly from Yuanda. Go ahead, please.
Hi, two questions here. And sorry, I was briefly on the other call, so apologies if my questions has been asked. First one, on your profitability of this year. I think it looks like EBITDA margin seems to be well improved from last year. However, the most significant improvement seems to be happening in the fourth quarter. So I'm just trying to get more ideas of how this improvement is from. Because throughout the years, your fourth quarter has always been the most difficult quarter for telecom companies as a whole. And yet you're guiding the highest quarterly EPS this year.
Thank you for your question. Our fourth quarter EBITDA and our profit ratio increased of about 6.1% from the same period 2019, mainly due to increase in income from operation because of our fixed broadband revenue increase and our mobile service revenue, our postpaid mobile service revenue increased over year. That's the main reason of the margin increase. Thank you.
Yes, but thank you. And that was for 2020. But how about this year? Because I believe you provide a breakdown for your guidance for this year, and it looks like, again, in the fourth quarter this year, you still have very good improvement in your margin, and your quarterly EPS is the highest throughout the 4 quarters. So are there any specific reasons that's behind this profitability improvement for this year, fourth quarter?
Okay, so because normally in the fourth quarter, we have lower EBITDA margin because we have more completion of ICT projects where margin is lower, relative to other projects. But for 2021, we expect EBITDA margin will be higher. This is because we'll be more selective in securing our ICT projects. So that's why we are quite confident that EBITDA margin will be higher in 2021.
Okay, so it's mostly due to ICT projects.
Sorry? Could you repeat?
It's mostly due to ICT projects.
You mean in 2021?
Yes, this year.
Okay. And we also believe our broadband services will continue the uptrend. So that will also add or raise our EBITDA margin. Yeah. So we believe our mobile services and our broadband services, the revenue will go up. Yeah, that will also increase and affect our EBITDA margin and also the ICT project. But we think since we are being more selective in acquiring good ICT project with higher NPV, so we think this is one of the main drivers for higher EBITDA margin in 2021.
Okay, thank you. And my second question, as a follow-up from the other analysts, for the increased Capex in internet sector, will we be able to see internet business sales growth to reflect on such a level of investment growth? And since you talked about the Capex as to support some potential business opportunities, has the business opportunities been budgeted to your guidance for this year?
Okay, so we think the Capex on our internet segments, right? As I just mentioned before, for our Capex from this section is mainly from IDC and FTTX. So for the first one, IDC business, right? Because we know two titans crash. So I think this is a good opportunity, and we also see large customers come from overseas. than to use our IDC services. So we still believe the investment in this area is very promising. And secondly, because of the pandemic, so there's a booming of home economy. So that's why we think the investment in FTTS will also pay off. And in fact, we also see some improvement, and there's a raise in our revenue from these areas.
Okay, very helpful. So all of these opportunities that you've seen has been budgeted to your guidance, revenue guidance for this year. Is it?
Okay, so for our revenue forecast, right, as you can see, we expect there will be like a 1% growth or so, because we believe that our mobile service and internet services will go up. And we also think that the sale of handsets will go up. Yeah, so that's why we think the revenue will be a little bit better than last year. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. As a reminder, press 01 on your keypad if you would like to ask the question. The next question is coming from Jack Shi, Sinopac Security. Go ahead, please.
Thank you for giving me another chance as a question. Just one question is about we have the project with a construction company, means Kingdom, and it seems we have the construction has some finished their construction in Xindian. So could you give us some details about the profit we in our income statement in the fourth quarter or in the 2020? Thank you.
For this urban redevelopment project, actually the profit is about $1.26 billion.
Okay, so could another just one follow-up question. Excuse me, sir. Okay, just one follow-up question. Will there be another this kind of income will happen in the 2021? Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir. Excuse me.
Okay, so for the rental income, right?
Yes.
You mean from this Xindian project?
Oh yeah, I mean another this kind of income will that happen in the 2021, or we don't to put too much expectation in this segment in the 2021.
Yeah, so other than the gains from disposal of PPE, then we don't have other significant items in this category. For 2021, we will continue our asset revitalization exercise, but we cannot give a very specific number for now.
Okay, is it possible to also have another gain in the 2021, or we don't put too much expectation on this item in the 2021?
At this point, we cannot give any details for this question. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. It's very helpful.
Thank you. The next question is coming from Billy, Credit Suisse. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, management, for the opportunity. I have got three quick questions. The first question is, could you help us understand your EBITDA outperformance relative to your guidance, while your revenue is actually below your guidance? So what was the area of cost saving that you did in 2020? So that's the first question. And the second question is regarding ICT growth. Obviously, in 2020, it was a big growth relative to last year. And could you help us understand the visibility of ICT growth going into 2021? And last question is around Capex. For Capex, earlier you talked about the entire 5G cycle is shortened from 5 years to 3 years. And does that imply the Capex intensity beyond 2021, i.e. 2022 and 2023 will be high? It will be as elevated as 2021 as well? Thank you.
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, that our fourth quarter EBITDA was an increase of about 6.1% from the same period of 2019, mainly due to the increase of our core business. That means from our fixed broadband increase and fixed broadband revenue increase, and our postpaid mobile service revenue increased year over year. That's the main reason of our profit ratio increase. And our ICT growth in 2020, because we recognize a large projects in the first quarter last year. So the ICT revenue will be big than this year. Though ICT revenue were a little bit less than last year, but we anticipate that the ICT profit will increase year over year, because we were more selective our ICT projects, as Vincent mentioned earlier. About the Capex spending, because we want to accelerate the 5G service deployment as quick as possible, because we see the 5G will booming in the upcoming these years. So the total Capex in 2021 we anticipate that it will be the highest amount of the company, and then the Capex will be decreased in 2022 and 2023. That's what we want to mention, that the Capex spending this year will be the highest.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is coming from Ella Wang from Morgan Stanley. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So I have two questions. So first is still on the ICT. So would you please give us some examples on, say, for example, our major projects, what would that be like, or any what like clients, what kind of demand we are doing with the ICT projects? And also on the ICT projects, do we have roughly how much percent, say, revenue or profit that ICT projects contribute? And then second question is on follow up on the Capex. So we try to accelerate 5G rollout in 2021. So what kind of metrics do we see that is, say, like either revenue opportunity or the adoption rate is better than expected to like so that we decide to accelerate the overall 5G rollout plan? Thank you.
For the first question regarding ICT projects, so in 2020, the revenue from ICT accounts for about 13% of our total revenue, consolidated from consolidated income statement. And for some of the large projects, right? So they are like something from Hualien, Chunghwa, and also the solar energy projects in Chunghwa. Yeah. So I hope I answer your question.
Okay. Pardon?
Basically, Basically, we have different projects, from the public sector or a private sector or from the government sector. It's kind of various, different kind. I think the main thing that's mentioned about, is from the government. That's a large project. But we also, partner with the other partners, to take some project, for the private sector. So it's kind of versatile, different kind of project.
I add one point that we anticipate that as soon as we deploy our base station, there will be more customers to use the 5G services. So that's why we want to accelerate the Capex spending on our 5G base station deployment. And the second one is that we thank for the government on 5G subsidies. That will help us to accelerate the construction. Okay, the second one. And the third one that about the third one that I want to mention is about the new applications of the 5G services. We want to team up with our partners from various verticals to develop 5G services via B2B2X business model. Yeah. We will focus on include smart manufacturing, smart transportation, and smart agriculture, smart healthcare, and autonomous driving, etc. These applications will be applied in different verticals. So we want to deploy these new applications as more as possible. That will be healthy for our telecom industry and our Taiwan's economies. Thank you.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is coming from Kat Soma from Fidelity. Go ahead, please.
Hello. Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead,
Yes.
please.
Hello? Okay, thanks for the opportunity. Just quickly, two questions. So, sorry, I'm still struggling to understand why you are projecting higher EBITDA margin. You previously mentioned it's driven by ICT project, right? The ICT project margin should be lower. The margin should be lower than your core telecom business. Why is it why can it be the reason for higher margin, or is it actually driven by further cost cutting? Could you clarify that point? That's my first question.
I think last year we have several government projects which is large project accounting for a large revenue portion, which has lower margin compared with the overall ICT projects. This year we don't have this kind of project, much less, so the margin will be higher. Okay.
Higher. Okay, that's clear. Thank you. And then the second question is, so based on your guidance, I guess you're projecting depreciation and amortization expenses to rise by about 5% year-over-year, despite a large increase in Capex, right? And then could you help me understand why? Because did you change the depreciation method, or is any of the government subsidies you could potentially get actually factored into your projection? Thank you.
Yeah, we don't change our depreciation policy, and for the D&A expenses, because for 5G deployment, we only started July last year, so it's only for half of a year.
Okay. Yeah, but okay. Yeah, but my simple question is: so your Capex is projected to increase by a lot, right? Yeah, over year, and also in terms of amortization of spectrum, obviously in 2020 you only recognized for the latter half of the year. I mean, for 6 months, versus this year you're gonna have to recognize it for throughout the year for 12 months, right? But what you're saying is it will result in a mere 5% increase in depreciation and amortization expenses without sort of changing any of your accounting standards.
For Capex, probably yes, but for the spectrum, for the amortization, it's not, right? Amortization actually happened, because we actually launched the service, by June 30th, so it actually happened, only for half a year. So amortization expenses only for half a year, but for Capex is for the whole year. So for Capex, I think we already explained, this year we're going to accelerate the Capex spending to deploy the 5G network spending. So that's the reason we want to, first of all, we want to acquire, the government 5G subsidies, and we want to seize the opportunity for 5G as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's no further questions, I will turn it back over to President Kuo. Go ahead, please.
Thank you for your participation. Happy Chinese New Year. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, President Kuo. Thank you for your participation in Chunghwa Telecom's conference. There will be a webcast replay within an hour. Please visit www.cht.com.tw/IR under the IR calendar section. You may now disconnect. Goodbye.